Instacart is on a mission to have you not leave the couch this basketball season, because between the pregame rituals and the postgame interviews, it can be difficult to find time for everything else. So let Instacart take care of your game day snacks or weekly restocks and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Because we hear it's bad luck to be hungry on game day. So download the Instacart app today and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days. Excludes restaurants.
In order to support our show, we'll need the help of some great advertisers. And in order to find those great advertisers, we'll need to learn a little bit more about you. So please go to podsurvey.com/TCAT and take a quick anonymous survey that will help us get to know you a little better. That way we can show advertisers just how great our listeners are. And once you've completed the survey, you can choose to enter for a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Terms and conditions apply. So again, that's podsurvey.com/TCAT. Thanks for your help. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 95 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, what is going on?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. This is our first episode of 2019.
It is.
The holidays are behind us. How was your New Year's, by the way?
Hey, it was New Year's.
It was New Year's, yeah.
It was New Year's.
Ours was kind of weird. We all had strep throat.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting a bunch of wings, hanging out, watching movies, and then we watched the ball drop.
Yeah.
And then we went to bed.
Lights out, huh?
But it was actually a pretty good New Year's because we spent it together as a family, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Well, you know, it's good, man. That's really good. Good food. Did you have the traditional pork and sauerkraut the next day?
No. I think I had leftover wings.
Is that what you did?
I think I bought a bunch of wings so that I would have
plenty for the next day.
Yeah, plenty for the next day.
You know, some people have that traditional pork sauerkraut.
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know, stack the coins on the windowsill.
And I've never heard of that.
You ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. There's all kind of traditions that you do for New Year's Day to bring wealth and fortune and health and all that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, I learned something today
That's a
already.
podcast in itself, I think.
Exactly.
Maybe.
All right, Gibbs, we've got some new Patreon supporters.
All right.
We had Shaylin Overway,
Hey, Shaylin.
Zandali Guzman,
Oh, it's Guzman.
Steph Hitchens,
Yeah, that's stuff.
Tammy,
Just Tammy.
Tammy,
Tammmy.
Becca Williams,
Hey, Becca.
Fox and Tundra,
Thank you, Fox in the Tundra.
Joel Perez,
When you say Joel, I always reminds me of Seinfeld for some reason. As soon as I hear Joel, I want to say Rifkin. Yeah.
Joel Rifkin,
Yep.
Lonnie Pierce,
Hey, Lonnie.
Ina Cecily Pedersen,
I didn't know about Pedersen.
Helly Beck Nilsson. We got some names that I'm really not confident
Getting
on.
some Scandinavian names.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
That one for sure sounds like it might be from that area of the world.
Sure.
We had Nina Matheson,
Hey, thank you, Nina.
Charisse LeBoytoy, which might be one of the coolest names we've ever had.
I'd like to hear that over the loudspeaker.
And what's interesting about the last name is it's like a French spelling, toy.
Maybe it's a little boy too.
It could be. I could be saying it absolutely wrong.
Probably.
Donald Roberts,
Hey, Donald.
Rebecca Marchetti,
Massetti.
and we have Yogurt and Petunia.
Oh, do you need a little yogurt, a little petunia? You need that, you know? It's good for the soul.
It's good for the soul. Cricket Loy jumped out at our highest level.
That's a cool name, Cricket, you know?
And then we had Ronnie Loy. I don't know if there's some relation there.
Maybe. Ronnie.
Tony and Kara McKay.
Hey, thank you, Tony and Kara.
Quinn Molinoy.
Quinn. Molinoy.
Samantha Anderson.
Hey, Samantha.
And Desiree Hurst.
Oh, thanks, Desiree.
Yeah, appreciate that. And then if we go back into the vault, Gibbs. This week we selected Danny Jock. Danny's been around forever.
Yeah, yes. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. You know that.
Yep, an unbelievable supporter of the show. So we appreciate all the new Patreon support. We appreciate the people that continue to support us month after month. We've got a Patreon episode that's coming out this month, and we're playing around with some other ideas.
We do.
For additional content on
like it.
Patreon. We had some PayPal support as well. Lana Bush jumped out with a really big PayPal donation.
Good friend Alana, thank you.
We had Ollie Pekka Marburg.
Oh, Ollie, thank you.
Paul Kraus.
Paul, awesome.
Geraldine Collis.
Geraldine.
And Nathan Kittredge.
Hey, Nathan, that's really cool. Thank you.
Appreciate all the PayPal support as well. So, Gibbs, 2019.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of interesting things going on. We've already made the announcement. We're doing 52 episodes of True Crime All Time Unsolved.
Yeah, how are you going to do that?
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I'm taking 10 weeks off.
When you're taking 10 weeks off, we'll figure it out. But, we're excited. I know I'm excited about a really, really good 2019, not just Unsolved, but on True Crime All the Time. I've got my other podcast, Criminology. I've got a new podcast in the works. You and I are working on another podcast.
I know. I got my single one I'm working on.
Called Singles. Is that what you said?
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I just thought about that.
You got your single podcast that you're working on?
There you go.
So stay tuned. A lot of things to come.
Yeah. Exciting news.
Now, speaking of True Crime All the Time, there's an episode out right now on Colonel Russell Williams.
That was a good one.
It's a good one. It's one that I wanted to do for a long time because to me, this guy is fascinating for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you believe the authorities and you believe Williams, he did not start committing crimes until he was about 44 years old. And this was a guy that didn't have all the hallmarks in his background of somebody that would later do really horrible things. The normal things that we talk about in relation to serial killers, but he had a fetish. And this was a fetish that he couldn't keep contained to his own house, right? So it spilled out. He started going into other houses and it just kept escalating.
Yeah, it did.
As it often does when we talk about serial killers. But check that out. It's a really good episode. All right, Gibbs, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
Yeah, I'm all ready, man. Let's do this.
All right, I like it when you're ready. We are talking about the disappearance of Trudy Appleby, and we're going back to August 20th, 1996 in the city of Moline, Illinois. And this is Illinois, Gibbs. This is not your favorite neighboring state of Illinois.
Well, it's
where you like to vacation.
Yeah, with my cousins.
With your cousins.
Sure. Watch a little Netflix.
Wrestling.
Netflix with wrestling.
In the
wrestling.
creek.
While I do my wash.
Yeah. But this was a hot summer day. And Trudy Appleby was 11 years old, getting ready to turn 12 in about 2 weeks. Trudy was a bright, outgoing, adventurous, adorable 11-year-old girl. And she was really excited this day. She was coming off from being grounded. And I've been there. I'm sure you've been there, Gibbs. I know my kids have been there, not as much as you and I probably were. I got grounded, quite a bit.
Man, I was grounded for most of my
most of your youth.
Most of my youth I was grounded.
I guess you and I being boys, we did things that we shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah, well, I deserved every grounding I got.
That's the thing.
For sure.
I don't make any bones about it. I did stuff I shouldn't have done. I was smart. I had a smart mouth. I had a lot of things going on that I wouldn't tolerate today. So I don't look at my parents as saying, hey, we're not going to tolerate it.
Right.
And say they shouldn't have done that because I wouldn't do it.
Well, believe me. Yeah.
I think that the difference today is, well, number one, I have girls. I think my girls I know my girls are a lot better than I was at their ages, and they're not doing the same type of things that I did. The other thing I think, Gibbs, is today, I don't really do a lot of grounding. The biggest deterrent for my two girls is their iPhones.
Yeah.
the threat of taking away their iPhones, it sends them into a panic.
I can see that. It's their whole world.
It's like their lifeline.
Yeah.
Their faces are buried into it. It's their communication tool. It's their internet. It's their lifeline to the rest of the world.
Yeah. I mean, when we grew up, we had the house phone, and otherwise, if you wanted to see how somebody was doing, if you wanted to talk to your girlfriend, you either had to get them on the phone or you had to go over to their house.
Right.
Now, it's all FaceTime and Snapchat and WhatsApp or whatever. There's so many different things out there people are using. I can't even keep up with everything that people use.
So she was coming off from this grounding. Now, Trudy's parents were separated, and she lived with her dad and an older half brother. But her mom lived pretty close to where her dad did. So on this day, Trudy went over to her friend's house. Her friend lived a block up the road, and Trudy spent a lot of time at the Carlson house.
She really did. I mean, she was a fixture there. She would call Kelly her second mom. And I think, growing up, we all had, I don't know, there was a good friend that I had that his mom was like my second mom. And I would call her mom sometimes.
Yeah, I had one of those too. Actually, when my mom went to work very early. She was a nurse. So she would drop me off in the mornings at my good friend's house.
Right.
And my friend's mom would essentially take care of us both until it was time to go to school.
Yeah.
And she would feed me and,
Yeah, she's like a mom.
So like a second mom.
Yeah. So I think we all experienced that. I know there's some friends of mine that would call my mom, and I always thought it was weird. I didn't think it was weird when I called, somebody's mom, but I thought it was weird when they called my mom. Hey, wait, that's my mom. What are you doing?
But I think the important part there, Gibbs, is Trudy was there a lot. Kelly Carlson would later say that in remembering the first time she met Trudy was playing out in her front yard, jumping around, and Kelly went to the door and asked this little girl, who was Trudy, if she could help her with something. She didn't know who this girl was. All she knew was that she was in her yard and just kind of jumping around playing as kids do. But I guess Trudy just came up, introduced herself, and she asked Kelly if she had any kids her age that could play.
It's kind of bold, but I mean, it's great. That's what kids did back in the day. You moved into a new neighborhood and you were outside, and you're just looking for any signs of any other people your age moving around, jump on your bike and ride bikes with them. Or,
well, going back to what we were talking about with technology, right? Today, that is a text. Do you want to play? Do you want to do something?
Yeah.
Back in our day, that was a ride over to somebody's house on your bike. You knocked on the front door and you said, "Can Billy come out and play?"
Yeah.
That's the way it worked.
And then if they couldn't, you moved on down to the next house, right? Or you tried to find where they were all at so you could hang out together.
Exactly. But Kelly told Trudy that she had a son that was just a couple of months younger than Trudy was. And she also had a daughter named Amber that was 2 years older. And it was Amber and Trudy, despite the 2-year age difference, that became friends almost instantly, is the way that I took it.
Yeah, they really connected, and they both were, and people would refer it to like they were tomboyish, because they loved doing things outside like street hockey and rollerblading and basketball. I mean, they were always active together. Just the best of friends.
And Gibbs, I think everything that we read talked about this neighborhood being a nice place. It was quiet. This was the type of neighborhood that kids could play outside. Parents weren't going to be that worried that something bad was going to happen. And on that day, Trudy and Amber and another friend of theirs, they were walking through the neighborhood. For a lot of the day, the girls hung out in front of Amber's house. They were rollerblading. They all ate dinner there. They had hot dogs, mac and cheese.
Good old easy kid lunch, man.
Oh, yeah.
Hot dogs and mac and cheese.
I'm telling you what, my girls, when they were younger, that's all you needed. If you had mac and cheese, it didn't matter what else you had with it. You were like super dad.
Yeah.
That was the key. The mac and cheese was always the key.
Hey, my daughter is 22 now.
Mm-hmm. Still loves mac and cheese.
She still loves it when I make her mac and cheese. She'll call me, say, hey, can you come make me mac and cheese? I'm like, you can do it. She's like, it doesn't taste the same.
It's better when you make it.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll make you some mac and cheese.
So they're playing, they ate, and it was around 8 p.m. that night when 13-year-old Amber walked Trudy home to her driveway.
So you got to picture this. Her house was in between two other houses, as most neighborhoods are, but her house was set further back and had this long winding driveway. So instead of walking with her all the way up to the front door, it was just one of her things that she would do. They would stop at the tip of the driveway where the mailbox was and say their goodbyes.
So in saying their goodbyes, they talked about hanging out again the next day. Again, you have to think about it. This is summer vacation. This is day after day of playing, hanging out. That was it. That was the best time of the year.
It was, man. I remember going through that. You'd wake up in the morning and you go grab your bowl of cereal, and then you just wanted to get on your bike and go to wherever your friends were hanging out or go up to the pool for the day, whatever. But you were outside.
And your parents were at work making money, and you just were doing whatever you wanted.
That's right, man. I ate my Fruit Loops or whatever and went on my way.
So at the end of the conversation, Trudy said that she would call Amber in the morning. And this is something that she did on most days, like we talked about. Hey, what's going on? What are we going to do this day?
Right. What time you come on over?
But the next day rolled around, August 21st, 1996. Amber slept through her alarm, and she didn't get up at the time that she had planned. But when she did finally wake up, she placed a call to Trudy's house, didn't get an answer. She called a couple more times after that, never got an answer. Now, Trudy's father came home for lunch that day. He was at work. He lived close enough where he could pop home and eat lunch. And I guess he did this almost every day. But very quickly, Gibbs, her dad realized that Trudy wasn't there. But I think initially this was not a huge concern, right? At the time, this was something he was used to with her. She was allowed to go out.
Yeah. I think you're right.
He probably thought she was down at Amber's house.
Yeah, down there.
Or playing with another friend.
Yeah, throughout the neighborhood somewhere.
It really wasn't until the early evening, after he got off work, got home, that he really began to worry. He hadn't heard from Trudy. He didn't know where she was. He called over to the Carlson house to see if she was there or if she had been there. And as soon as Kelly, Amber's mom, said no, they hadn't seen her all day, that probably hit the panic button for him.
Well, I would think so.
And I think it caused alarm bells to go off for young Amber as well. I think she told her mom right away, right after that call, something had to be wrong. For her not to have heard from Trudy all day long, that's just so far out of the norm. She thought right away something's wrong.
Yeah, and I think, she knew, because when you're close friends like that, it's your best friend, man. You guys call each other first thing in the morning, and either you're together, and if you're not together, you know why you're not together. You've talked, right? Or you're talking in between. So when that happens, you know something's up.
So Trudy's father called the police, but it hadn't been 24 hours since he had last seen her. And this is something you and I talk about a lot, especially on Unsolved.
Yeah.
And I think back then this was very common, right? This kind of 24-hour, it's too soon. They didn't think anything bad had happened to her. They didn't think she had run away.
They just didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, they wanted to give it more time, and they thought she'd come back.
Yeah.
I think this was very common. It ended up that it would be about 2 days before detectives would really start to look into this case.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of frustrating for some of the family members and also friends of the family. And it would be, I mean, if you know your kid, right? I mean, if you said, my daughter's missing, and they said, well, Mike, we got to wait 24 hours. I know you wouldn't wait anyway, but it would drive you crazy because you were like, I know my kid didn't run away. Something is wrong and we need to act now.
The other thing that plays into it for me is She's 11 years old.
Yeah.
We're not talking about an 18-year-old that can drive and has a lot of freedom.
Right.
We're talking about an 11-year-old girl who has limits, has a pattern, and she's broken that pattern entirely.
Yeah. I mean, if she's run away in the past, that's one thing.
Sure.
Right. But like you said, her daily pattern is to wake up, call her best friend, go down, hang out at her second mom's house, and that's it. She's not doing that. And like you said, she's 11. She's not driving. So what's going on here?
Now, when they finally do start to investigate, detectives talk to Amber. And Amber tells them that Trudy had recently been talking to an older boy. Now, she wasn't 100% sure if this was true. This is what Trudy had been telling her. So it was either, yes, she really was, or Amber thought it was possible this was a story she was making up. She was trying to make a boy in the neighborhood jealous. This is a boy that she had a crush on.
Yeah, that happens a lot, with kids. They try to get your attention by making you jealous, Probably happens even in adulthood, I guess.
Yeah, you tell me all the time that you're talking to other podcasters. I'm like, WTF, man.
I know.
I'm so jealous.
Hey. Yeah, I walk in like, I just got off the phone with Beck. And you're like, damn it. Really? I just had lunch with the captain.
Gibby's going to leave me.
Captain and Gibby going to do a podcast together.
But after detectives talked with Amber, they talked to a neighbor. And it was this neighbor that told them he had seen Trudy get into what he described as a boxy gray or silver vehicle that morning of the 21st with an unknown man who the neighbor said he thought was in his 20s. He described this man as having brown curly hair, and he said he was white. There were other witnesses that told detectives that they saw Trudy that day on Campbell's Island. And we have to talk about this, right? Campbell's Island is a small residential island near the city of Moline, but it's in the Mississippi River.
Yeah, it's real close to all the Quad Cities, and it's a place where if you're going to go boating for the day, fishing, boating, it's where you would go. So, this witness knows that she was seen there that day with an individual because he saw her in the passenger seat of this guy's car, and this guy would end up being a man named William Edward Smith.
And Smith was not a stranger to Trudy. She knew him because he was a friend of Trudy's father. And this witness also told detectives that they saw Smith take 2 life jackets from his car and head towards the boat docks. Now, that same witness said that later in the day, he saw Smith again, but this time without Trudy. And later on, it would come out that the witness said he was threatened by Smith.
Oh, I think he said, if you tell anybody what you saw today, I'll kill you. That's about as big as a threat you can lay out there.
And I think one of the really big things that haunts this case is, well, number one, William Smith, who I think he went by Ed, Ed Smith, we'll call him, drove a 4-door silver Chevy vehicle back then, which police know was scrapped within, a week of Trudy Appleby going missing. Is that a coincidence?
Yeah, I think it's pretty telling.
It's if it is, it's a tough one.
I mean, I think it'd be a hard one to explain. Why did you scrap your vehicle? It doesn't mean you're guilty of anything, but It sure doesn't look good.
But it's a heck of a coincidence.
Yeah.
If it is one. So detectives took all this information and they interviewed Ed Smith about Trudy's disappearance a bunch of times, right, over the years, but he never really would cooperate with authorities. And then the big problem, Gibbs, comes in when Smith dies.
Sure.
On December 23rd, 2014.
Yeah, so 18 years later, now he's dead. He's 70. I think he died at 72.
Yeah, he's 72. So let's do that math. In 1996, he would have been how old? Beep, boop, beep, boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, so he 54?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I got those skills, man.
That's why I let you manage all my money.
Yeah, that's why the house is up for sale.
Foreclosure sign.
And I think somebody in a tow truck just took your truck out of the driveway. But otherwise, you're good.
But he was 54 back then. He died at 72. But Ed Smith never admitted to the authorities anything about the disappearance of Trudy Appleby.
Yeah, I don't think the detectives ever thought that Smith was ever acting alone in this disappearance of Trudy. And I think they're trying to figure out, who else could have been involved. And then the outcome of Trudy, what happened to her? If she was murdered, was it just Smith, or was it Smith and somebody else, a few other people? They just feel that there's more people that have information about this, and besides Smith alone. But it would be the last time that Trudy was ever seen, was at that island that day, seen by that witness.
Are you looking for a new job or want a career change? Look no further than Monster.com. Need a little help standing out? Our expert resume writing services will make sure you shine. Want to brush up on your interview skills? Engage with our AI interview prep tool. Want some advice on negotiating your new salary? Visit our salary tools and extensive library of career advice articles, and you'll have all the tips and tricks you'll need to succeed. Visit Monster.com today and take the first step towards your career. Monster.com. Find your right job fit.
Life can be chaotic. If you're running a retail business, don't let disorganized order fulfillment add to the chaos. Use ShipStation instead. With ShipStation, you never have to worry about shipping and fulfillment again. Whether you're running a business out of your garage or you have multiple warehouses, ShipStation is ideal for every phase of your business's growth. Save time with one login for all your stores and by automating repetitive tasks. Plus, you'll save money with the best shipping rates from global carriers. ShipStation's industry-leading features help you deliver a better customer experience. They'll get accurate and faster shipments along with automated tracking updates with your branding. And with up to 88% off UPS and USPS rates and up to 90% off FedEx rates, ShipStation is the fastest and most affordable way to ship. Calm the chaos. Switch to ShipStation today. Start a free trial at shipstation.com/audio. That's shipstation.com/audio.
But Trudy's father had his own suspicions. It was just days after she went missing. He told police that he felt Ed Smith was somehow involved with the disappearance of his daughter, and not just Ed Smith. He also, too, felt that there were others that were associates of Smith that were involved as well. And Trudy's father would later tell a reporter, quote, "I think they went on a boat and an accident happened. Could be he tried to do something funny and Trudy fought back. That would be in her nature." He went on to say, "I think it happened on the east side of Campbell's Island. That's where he hung out," referring to Smith. After Trudy's disappearance, there was a $10,000 reward for any information offered in conjunction with her family and Crime Stoppers. Everybody was looking for anything, Gibbs, that would lead to solving the case, but it never came.
No, you're right, Mike. I mean, it's good. They're putting the reward out there just to try to, stir up anything that can get them some type of, lead that they can follow up on. And they get leads, but the leads don't go anywhere. And I think it's just frustrating. And eventually they just don't have any. Well, one, there's no body, right?
Right. Her body's never found.
So without a body, it really makes your detective work so much harder, because all they know is that she was at her house at this time on such and such day. So then they see her on the island that same day, and that's the last time she was seen. So, for the detectives, that's tough. I mean, all you can do is try to backtrack through a little bit of her history, try to talk to this witness, this person that, the Smith guy that the witness alleged that she was with, and see where it goes. But with no body, I mean, there's just, you're not going to have any physical evidence to tie anybody to.
Well, and that's how cases go cold, and this one did as well. So I think, Gibbs, we need to talk about this witness, right? The man that said he saw Trudy Appleby with Ed Smith on Campbell's Island that day. And the witness turns out to be Ed Smith's son-in-law.
Yeah.
A man by the name of David Whipple.
So if you remember, the day she went missing, her next door neighbor saw a man in his 20s pick her up. And so there was a newspaper article that theorized that maybe this son-in-law of Ed Smith, because he probably would have been in his 20s. If Ed Smith was 54, most likely his son-in-law was in his, mid to late 20s. And then this was the person that picked her up that the neighbor seen. So was it? We don't know that, but I could see why that newspaper would make that connection to that.
And Trudy's father has appealed to this individual to cooperate further with police. And he's come out and said to newspaper reporters, David Whipple knows what happened to my daughter. I believe in my heart 100%. And then something that you and I talk about, Gibbs, a lot is people keeping secrets. And detectives have, over the years, said that for Ed Smith to harbor that type of secret until the day he died, right? 17, 18 years, they feel like that would have been tough. I think their thought is he would have told something to someone, and probably someone close to him, and they believe there are a number of people still alive that know what happened. And one of those people that they believe knows more than what they're saying is the witness that we've been talking about. In 2017, police came out and asked the public for help. They wanted any information regarding activity that day on Campbell's Island, the boat launch at Empire Park in East Moline, and the Mississippi River islands of Blackbird and Dynamite. This is 21 years, Gibbs, after the disappearance of Trudy Appleby.
Yeah, there are definitely some unhappy people about them waiting this long to ask for this type of information. I mean, the police said they kind of held back on asking a lot of questions like this because they had some information that they were trying to keep close to the vest, right? So just in case somebody came forward, they had that. And we've talked about that, right? They always hold certain things back, sure, so they can validate what somebody's saying to them as true or not.
Right.
But I think even the detective that was working the cold case said, yeah, this probably should have rolled out much earlier when the case went cold back in the day. That would have been helpful. But, there's nothing we can do about it now. That's why we're rolling it out. That is why we're rolling it out now, to see if we can generate anything.
And it was also around this time that police came out and officially named Ed Smith as a suspect in the disappearance of Trudy Appleby.
We have new details today in the case of Trudy Appleby, the 11-year-old Moline girl who went missing in 1996. Police are revealing the name of a man they believe is the prime suspect in this 21-year-old mystery. News 8's Chris Miner is here with the exclusive details. Chris?
Angie, this is our very first look at the man identified as Ed Smith of East Moline, who actually died 3 years ago, a man police now say was the last person to see the little girl alive. Police have had this information for years, but are releasing it now to News 8, 4 days before the 21st anniversary of Trudy's disappearance. Trudy was last seen getting into a car at her house the morning she went missing. Police now say they believe she was going swimming off Campbell's Island in East Moline, that she went out on a boat with a family friend, William Ed Smith, and was never seen again. Police say the car Trudy was in was taken in for scrap 4 days later. Police say they don't believe she was ever abducted by a stranger, but went willingly with people she knew, and don't believe she's still alive.
And we have witnesses that state that they saw Trudy Appleby on Kimball's Island mid to late morning on August 21st, 1996, in the passenger car driven by Ed William Smith. He goes by Ed Smith. Mr. Smith is now deceased. The last person to see Trudy alive was William Smith, Ed Smith. Right now, it's not the crime anymore. It's the cover-up. It's time to bring Trudy home. It's time to be done with this. It's 21 years.
Ed Smith was a friend of Trudy Appleby's father, who tells me he told police about his suspicions very early on in the investigation. Police say they never had enough to arrest anyone in this case, but say they know there are still people alive who know exactly what happened to Trudy, but just aren't talking.
So you heard in that clip a police officer talk about the fact that Ed Smith was the last person to be seen with Trudy Appleby. And I know we're years, 21, 22 years on, Gibbs, after her disappearance, but the police are really going all out. Now, you can make the argument, and I think some people have, that they didn't do enough in the 20-some years before this, but they actually put up 2 billboards.
Yeah.
With a photo of Trudy Appleby and the words, "You know something, it's time to say something." Now, on top of that, they posted a challenge on their Facebook page, and the Facebook post states, "For the last 8,014 days, you have been lucky, but you will need to continue to be lucky every day for the rest of your lives. We only need to be lucky one day. Is today that day?" And again, as you heard in the clip, the detectives talk about the fact that they believe there are people still alive, still around, living in the area that know what happened to Trudy Appleby. And they believe that they would be following the police's social media. They would be tracking the case, and they would see this. Now, the other thing that I found interesting from the post, Gibbs, is that it talks about the word lives, plural.
Yeah.
So from that, you can garner that police believe there was more than one person involved.
Sure.
In the disappearance of Trudy Appleby. Not coming out and saying that, but by using the word lives and making it plural,
that's where the assumption should be.
You can infer that. Well, and to that point, the post goes on. It says, "To the people who committed the violent acts against Trudy and to those who continue to harbor their secrets. As you drive past these billboards, we wonder if you enjoy the little things in life. Little things like looking straight ahead. You are going to start looking over your shoulder, looking behind you and wondering when we are coming for you. The dark secrets of the past shall soon be brought to light." I mean, this is their Facebook post.
Yeah.
But again, they also use the word people.
Yep.
Right? Not to the person, to the people.
So they're letting the public know they feel it's more than one. They're also really touching, getting into these heads of these people, you know, letting them know, hey, they're playing a game. That's what they're doing.
I think they're trying to rattle cages. They're trying to put the people that they believe may have been involved in this, other than Ed Smith, who's already deceased at this point, trying to put it in their head that we're not going to stop. We're going to be relentless. We're going to be coming after you. You're going to have to look over your shoulder for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And I think that last sentence, that, the dark secrets of the past shall soon be brought to light. I mean, I think if you were one of those people, you were thinking, what do they know? Do they know something now? Maybe I do need to be the one that speaks up.
Get ahead of it.
Because what do they mean by that?
I actually like it. I like the post. Now, again, you can make the argument that 22 years later is way too long.
No, and I agree, but it's a cold case, so you're going to do what you can. I mean, at least they're trying to do something.
Right. I think that's the point. There are people that say, why did you wait so long? But at the same point, you can say these people are trying. It's 22 years later, and they are trying to solve the mystery of what happened to Trudy Appleby.
And I would say it was a successful post. I mean, as far as viewership, right? I mean, it was shared over 1,500 times, which that's pretty high for Facebook. And it was seen, actually read and liked by over 120,000 people. So that's 120,000 ears, eyes hearing this story. And if they can get anything out of it, it's well worth it for sure. I mean, you're keeping it in the public's face.
And like we talk about, you just need one person, right? You just need to reach that one person, whether it's a person that knows something that's been scared to come forward, or whether it's a person that didn't really realize that they knew something. And this kind of jogs their memory and they think, oh my gosh, I was there on, Campbell's Island that day.
But at least, if you know something, man, come forward or go to a payphone and call a hotline or something and say, hey, here's what happened that day. And here's where the body was put that day, and just give the family some rest, some peace. I mean, I'm sure, and in their head, they probably assume what happened, but you still want to know. So today, Trudy's case takes up over 6 full file cabinets at the Moline Police Department. And inside the file, they've got interviews, detective notes, witness statements. I mean, it just tells you. I mean, that's a lot of information for a case. It's not like one manila folder that somebody dropped on your desk. Like, here's the case. No, I mean, 6 file cabinets full. That's a lot of information to go through.
And this is one of the biggest cases that the Quad Cities has ever seen. And even though it's cold, right, Gibbs, it's technically a cold case, the police still get weekly tips about it. And throughout the years, Trudy's family and friends have remained vigilant in keeping her memory alive. And Amber's mom, Kelly Carlson, has been quoted as saying, "They stole the innocence of a child. She could have done so much with her life. She probably would be married, have children of her own. She could have been a veterinarian. She loved animals and dogs. She just had so much potential, but that was ripped from her in the blink of an eye." Kelly and Amber have both done a lot on social media. They've shared stories about Trudy, who was like a daughter to Kelly, like a sister to Amber, and they eventually took over the Missing Trudy Appleby Facebook page that was started by an advocate for missing persons. And when you hear Amber talk, she says, people know who she is. It has helped people from all over know about Trudy, know who she is. It makes it easier for her to not just become a statistic. And we haven't talked a lot about Trudy's mother. We said in the beginning, Gibbs, that she lived down the street.
Right.
She was divorced from Trudy's father, but she's come out over the years, talked about her daughter, Trudy. And I mean, the main thrust of it was she just didn't want her to be forgotten. That was her main goal. And she said, till my dying day, until we find her, I will not let people forget. But unfortunately, she was killed in 2014 by a drunk driver. And what makes it even more heartbreaking is that it was just weeks after the candlelight vigil that they hold every year.
Yeah.
In honor of Trudy Appleby. Her mom was 53 years old. And Trudy's grandmother also passed away that year. So Gibbs, to me, regardless of what you think the police should have done or did do or didn't do right after it happened, in the years after Trudy's disappearance, I think it's pretty apparent that they're working hard on this case to ensure that she is never forgotten.
Yeah, just as her mom asked, they are fulfilling that wish.
And like we talked about, they believe there are people out there today who have information about what happened to Trudy, who was involved, and they just want them to come forward. And I think it's tough. You mentioned it. They've never found her body, which makes it much more difficult.
No, because I think if they had a body back then, no doubt somebody would, unless it was truly an accident, somebody would have been in prison by now.
I think that's a good possibility. They've had a number of suspects. No one has cooperated. They've questioned people over the years. And we played the clip, right, about them coming out and publicly naming Ed Smith as a suspect. But he died 4 years ago. So if he did it alone, there's nothing that they can do to him now. But I don't believe that they think he did it alone.
No, I agree with you.
But detectives have come out and said that the Smith family has been pretty quiet. They've not been much help in the investigation. And I think they've asked them to step up, help out, and give the Appleby family the closure that they deserve.
And they even say maybe it was an accident and maybe there was some kind of cover up, but somebody knows something. Let's talk about it and let's give this family the answers they need.
And I think, Gibbs, as we wrap up this episode, there's a story about Amber, right? Trudy's best friend. She continued on with her life. She grew up, but as she did through the years, she would stop by the mailbox down at the end of Trudy's driveway before going to school in the hopes that Trudy would somehow be waiting there for her, ready to go to school. And that's so sad.
It is sad. It's just making me,
it
making me sad again.
it.
I researched it and it was like,
I mean, of course, that never happened.
Mm-mm.
But to continue to go there just on the hopes that someday she's going to show up, this was a real, strong, true friendship.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And, hope, you got to have it though.
Trudy's father still lives at that same house. Amber's grown. She now has children of her own.
And, she's told them all about Trudy, so they know everything about her. But she's also told them to be aware. In this interview she did for an article, she talked about how she makes the awareness of this to her kids so important, because that was back then when things, like we talked about, we were outside all the time. Today's world, I think it's even worse. And I think you got to have that awareness. I don't think you need to keep your kids inside, but I think you just need to educate them up on the dangers and the possibilities out there. And then I think as a parent, you still need to be vigilant on overseeing their activities.
Yeah, I agree with you. No doubt. I mean, I've talked about it before. I don't hide a lot of things from my kids. I want them to know what's out there, what's possible. I want them to be aware. Now, there is a vigil held every year in Moline for Trudy Appleby, and Kelly and Amber show up every year. In statements, that they've made over the years, they always hope that the current year's vigil will be the last one. They've said someone out there knows exactly what happened. Get off your high horse and give Trudy's family closure. Little girls just don't go poof.
Well said.
Very true.
By now, most people in the Quad Cities area know her name, they recognize her face, and they've been listening to her friends and family beg for the return of Trudy Appleby for years. But today marks 22 years of that frustration, heartache, but also unwavering hope, as they hope that one day Trudy will come home. But it also marks 22 years without answers for Dennis Appleby.
Very vibrant, a very loving little girl.
Dennis Appleby has dreaded this day every year for the last 22 years.
Emotional roller coaster I've been on for 22 years. This is insane.
Because it was on this day in 1996 that Dennis's life changed forever, the day his little girl Trudy disappeared.
They didn't want to believe that this was happening. They wanted to believe it was a runaway. And it never was a runaway from the get-go.
And it's not just more than 2 decades of heartache.
I don't know what to say until it starts coming out.
But of silence.
Started here, and here's the end of the race. What happened there?
Because those who know the truth have stayed quiet.
There's somebody in that family that knows, if not all of them. And I truly believe it's all of them.
But Dennis says it's hard to hide with the community on his side.
They don't want, well, maybe this and maybe that. They want an answer. I want an answer.
And they'll keep fighting for the girl who will never be forgotten.
Let me say it was, things get better over time. They don't. They just don't.
So that's a recent news clip, and I wanted to save this one to the end so you really get to hear Trudy's dad talking. And Gibbs, you can hear the emotion, no doubt. 22 years later, it will never be over for him. But you also hear him say some of the things that we talked about, right? He truly believes that someone in that family knows what happened to his daughter, and they're not talking. That's it. That is the case of Trudy Appleby. I don't know if we'll ever know what truly happened to her, but I do believe that there are people out there that do know.
Well, I believe that too. And it's heartbreaking, I can't imagine, as a dad having my child taken away from me and then never knowing really what happened, how you would lay there every day thinking about it. I mean, I couldn't get it out of my head. It would haunt me every day.
Oh, and I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does for Trudy's dad as well. All right, we have some voicemails. You want to check those out?
Yeah, let's listen to them.
Hey, Mike and Gibby, this is Justice, and this is Heather, and Jamie, too. We just want to explain why we like each individual podcast. Heather likes True Crime All the Time Unsolved because I like the mystery of who did it and why they did it and all the different theories behind it. I like True Crime All the Time Solved because I like the psychology behind each action of the individual person. And then I'm just here. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, guys. We love listening to y'all's podcast. Y'all have a great day. Bye. Bye.
All right, Gibbs, that might be a first. Have we ever had 3?
No.
On the same voicemail?
I don't think so.
But it's interesting how, to hear it explained, why some people like certain podcasts better than others, right? Solved versus unsolved. That comes up a lot.
Yeah.
But we appreciate that voicemail.
That was a cool voicemail. Loved it.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Chelsea Sampson calling from Boston, North Dakota. My God, I just said North Dakota. Boston, Minnesota. I'm just so overwhelmed right now because I was listening to your episode of the unsolved case of the Walker family, and I have to say it's the only one that has actually made me cry. Just a very tragic way for little babies to die, and the idea that they tried to crawl up to their parents and lay with them to be comforted is really sad. So it's a great episode so far. I'm not all the way through it because they had to pause. But it just goes to show you how evil some people are. And it's scary that they could look at a child and just take their life just like that, like no problem. So anyway, I just wanted to stop and pause and say that you guys are doing a great job. And I hope you guys have a Happy New Year, and don't be surprised if I call around midnight and say Happy New Year. You guys have a great day. All right, bye, and keep your own time ticking.
All right, great voicemail.
Yeah, I was coming out of the gun to make fun of not knowing where she was at, but I can after that. That's you can feel her emotions in that.
Oh, you can hear it for sure. And that was a really good episode. I like that Walker family episode on Unsolved a lot.
That was a good one.
And I will say she did call back.
Okay.
At midnight.
Okay.
And left a voicemail.
Yeah. A little more cheery?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was definitely in better spirits at that point.
Good.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. I actually get to correct Mike on this one because he, in the old Chevy case, keeps calling Colville, Washington, Colville, Washington, which is a coasty thing to do if you're from East Side, Washington. I just wanted to call and let you guys know I'm a big fan. I'm from Eastern Washington, and there's a couple murders up there that you should take a look at. One being an unsolved case by the name of John Seavey. He died just beaten to death in his driveway, and no one ever found anything. And it's a small town, so everybody knows everybody, and everybody's got their theory, but nothing was ever found out about it. But thanks for having such a great podcast.
All right. Always love to get corrected.
Yeah.
Although I will say we're nowhere near Washington, but I've heard a ton of people call it Colville. I don't remember ever hearing anybody say Colville.
Well,
but
now you know.
Now I know.
We got a lot of listeners in Washington.
Yeah, a lot.
Hey guys, this is Will from Memphis, Tennessee, and I just got done listening to the Brittany Farthing episode, and like seriously, come on man, I'm from Tennessee, and even I know that like blue crab from Maryland is the best, so seriously, you're going to lose a lot of people from that one. Anyway, just calling, trying to find out when maybe you'll get some sweatpants with zippers put in the T-Cat store. Anyway, love what you guys are doing. Keep your own time ticking.
Man, guess I'm just getting my ass handed to me today.
I told you be careful with that blue crab, man.
I know. So, okay, sweatpants with zippers. The drop shipping company that we use has a limited inventory of things that you can put your logo on. So I will check, but I'm pretty sure that that's not one of them.
Sweatpants with a zipper.
I don't know where he wants the zipper at, but
well, I would think where you'd want your zipper on any pants.
Like on the fly?
Yeah.
How many pairs of sweatpants have you ever seen with a zipper on the fly?
Well, I've never seen them on a sweatpants.
That's what I'm saying. I've seen them down the side.
Down the side or down by the ankles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
don't know.
I'll check into it.
Well, there you go.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Kyle Bliss coming at you from Fremont, Ohio. Just wanted to say I love the podcast. Been listening for about a good year. Listen to you guys every day at work. If it wasn't for you guys, I probably would have probably done some stuff that you guys talk about on the show. Just wanted to give you guys a shout out. Love the chemistry between you two. One of the best, I think, crime podcasts out there. I've recommended it to friends and family, coworkers. You know, just love what you guys do. Just been kind of debating on calling you guys just because figured I might say the wrong thing or get a little too nervous, but just wanted to give credit where credit is due. Love you guys, and Team Gibby. All right, see you guys later.
All right, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very great
I don't think you
voicemail.
Besides the fact that you said you might have done something really bad early on if it wasn't for listening to these podcasts. So
we're keeping him sane.
We're keeping you. That's right. So, and the fact that you said Team Gibby.
Wow.
I mean, that says right
sure.
there.
He was in right then.
Exactly.
All right, Gibbs. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So from Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.